Hey guys, and welcome back to the still unnamed park in the still unnamed Spanish area, and I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about this quite a bit, and I really feel like this area still suffers from a great problem of not knowing what exactly it's going to want to be. And that's really an issue that you'll probably see me complain about in the future. I'm actually thinking of removing some of the footage that I have so far of the park in the future, and just completely redo things since there are just a couple of complications. Though I would add that does not necessarily have to count for this building as well, since I figured this was going alright. But the more that I started deviating from the first kinds of things that I did in this area, the more I also felt like I was deviating from what I originally kind of wanted to have. And that's where I think it really suffers from that problem of not knowing exactly what it's going to be, since I've always really just had a vague idea of what I want to do, and I just kind of took a risk with not developing the thing further, like planning things, and just instead of doing that, dive right into it, and I'm probably just having, you know, the problems that come with that right now. In any case, I don't want to make it seem like I have no idea what's going on anymore or what I have to do exactly. It's just that I am not so sure if this is actually the kind of direction that I want to take in it. And if at some point in the future I just completely redo some things and just remove all kinds of things, that's probably why. That being said, there is some work in this area on this new building, which, although I'm not sure how well it is going to work out in the end, it was a bit experimental. I think I can kind of keep it. And also some work on the log flume. And as much as I am not sure how the path layouts and rides are going to be exactly in this area, I think the log flume will be there, definitely won't be removed, but whatever I do with that should actually work out. There is pretty good planning for that. It's really just this area around it, with like the unfinished parts that you can see, where there is a bit of a lack of planning to actually make that work. In any case, I think I've really been complaining about this thing too much. I'm sorry, I'm just really worried about whether this is going to work out right and whether it is going into a direction that I like it to be. And I almost feel like let's get it over with this area so I can move on. To which you might say, but yeah, you can skip this area and do it later on, which is what you would always say, but I'm quite afraid that if I skip this area for now, that I'll barely even be able to get back into it, and yeah, that's basically why I chose to do, like, try to do as much as I can right now. But yeah, the current planning for it is, as much as it is a very vague planning, which I'm not really sure how much of it I'll do, is that I get a ride in that empty area that's right next to the white building with a tower that's pretty similar to this building, except it's white and slightly different, rather than some paths, which is something that I've always planned, because I'm not sure how well those paths are going to end up in the end. And I might still look at the flat ride as well, and something that I'm still unsure about is the queue that's going to be behind the building, behind the station building, that is. Because there are barely any plans when it comes to that, and everybody knows that I suck at queues so bad, so I really have to get into that. Get like some people to tell me how life even works when it comes to queues, and just kind of research that. So that's what's going to happen. This building over here, I haven't even talked about this little baby right here. There is quite some inspiration from the Metropolis building in Madrid, which, if you don't know, there's a building in Madrid at some like pretty famous streets, which is like the Flatiron building of Madrid in a way, which is a triangular building with a tower in front, and I like it quite a bit. It's actually pretty good, and it's all in the main idea of it's really hard to make something look distinctively Spanish, since other Mediterranean things and French styles of architecture, but also similar things, are actually just quite similar. So really, one thing that, well, a couple of the things that set this area apart as something Spanish are the Arabian influences, and the fact that there are some buildings that look a lot like their real-life Spanish counterparts. Where the pitfall, of course, was to make them kind of look like Spanish buildings and remind the people of said Spanish buildings, but not be complete rip-offs of it. So in that sense, I am pretty happy about the facades. I don't want to be just complaining about everything over here. I'm actually quite happy about the facades and the way they turned out, even though I do like to add a couple more details to them, and of course add some extra path work, because that's definitely something that I need underneath it. But I'm pretty happy about that. It's just that the general paths and how else I'm going to finish the surroundings of said facades is something that's just... I have no idea what's going to happen there. So hopefully that is actually going to work. In any case, I decided to just start working on the log flume for a tiny bit, see how I can do the rock work, which in the end... I know this almost makes no sense, but I always like to get My Girl Pepper's really large Yosemite, I think that's how you pronounce it, rocks in there, since they are so incredibly large and you can kind of just blend rock facades with them. They're more like a facade planner, because as you can see, those textures are really dark and probably don't even fit with the theme too well. So I'm going to cover that up with lighter rocks at some point in the future, but this was all just kind of planning, just getting the basic shape of the mountain done that I wanted to do. And the main reason for doing this like this and not just head into the rocks of which I wanted to texture right away is that many of the rocks that I wanted to use for the textures, most of which were in Weber's medium rocks, are just really small. So if I can give a small tip, just try building your rock facades with whatever texture. Doesn't really matter. As soon as you get a shape that you like it to be in, get the textured rocks that you actually want to use and place those on top of those. Though only in cases where it works out, as in right here, the textures that I used to plan the rock work weren't textures that I wanted to use, but the textures that I wanted to use were just way too small rocks, and so that's kind of why I did that. And it's also slightly based on what I did in the 32x32 park. Actually, that 32x32 tile park, I should probably refer to it as Shortleaf Lake. That's a lot better idea. I'm actually going to do that. But yeah, that was in a sense also a bit of practice for this, because I figured, I could use that anyway. So yeah, that's also why this thing is so incredibly similar to that thing, with having the rockwork and having the Aquatrex log flume on top of it. The 32x32 park was also a bit of experimentation with pathworks in a way that I might also try it over here, though I'm not too sure if that's actually going to work in such a large park. But that's probably also a story for another time, honestly. It's just, you know, it's kind of my way of saying that the similarities that this park might have with Shortleaf Lake aren't complete rip-offs, but rather Shortleaf Lake being a bit of an experiment slash practice for this park. So basically that's what was going on over there, and I would really like to make some of those very typical mech log flume things, because right now this looks like an aqua coaster, right? And everybody says, oh, you're building a water coaster, that's so cool. And I'm like, no, I'm trying to build a log flume, please, no. So I think that what I kind of need actually to convince people that this is actually a log flume and to make it actually look like a convincing log flume is one of those very typical mech water beds where you have the drop with just a tiny amount of water, and where the actual logs kind of roll on these rolling things. I don't even know what to call them. I'm not into the technical stuff, but basically those very thin platforms that log flumes usually have that drops on, and that doesn't really exist in Roller Coaster 3. Like, that's something that has always nagged me. It's either you go full-on water coaster, which looks a bit weird, or you use the in-game log flume. But for some reason, the in-game log flume, as soon as you have a drop that's like 80 degrees, you still have like water that's ever so slow, and it makes no sense. So the in-game log flume is just something that I despise. It's not really good. So basically, I'm trying to find some way to make a log flume that looks good. So if I ever get the time, or decide to get off my lazy bum and actually do something, then I would really like to make those log flume tracks things that it goes down on. In any case, this is something I think I've talked about in the last episode when I wasn't supposed to talk about it, but I did in the end. The fact that I added this small path around the building with palm trees and other foliage just to make sure that, you know, that also looks good, and that I also have that where it's also paused for a second right there. I might have to edit that out or not, fuck it. That was basically me trying to figure out things, I think, because I usually don't go AFK when I'm recording. Oh, whatever I was doing there, probably taking like other music, but that's incredibly off topic. Basically, this was that little thing in front of the building that I wanted to have to make that building not look like such a standalone little thing in the middle of the water and look so distanced from whatever else there was in this area, and kind of connect it more to the water area and the log flume with some fun little fence action and fun little wall action, and of course cool foliage. So that's kind of why this happened. I'm still trying to figure out if there's like anything that I can do with this border that I really like, since I'm really just kind of messing with this little wall right here, and it's still not really working out. Like, I wanted to get some good details on those walls, since it just kind of is too striking of a contrast, I think, with the rest of the building. But so far it's not working out too well, so I might get into that later on. But I think at this point, yeah, this wall is basically looking like what it's going to look like in the in its final form. So this might not even be its final form. And of course there's the rope fence over there. Like, I've actually become addicted to that rope fence. It's whenever I have like any fence over here, whenever, you know, everybody has this sometimes, right? You have like a wall or the side of a path and you want to get a fence in there, but no fence ever works. Like, they're either too small or they're too large, or the colors don't look right, or the textures don't match up, and for some reason the rope fence just always looks great. I've no idea how it even works, but the rope fence is just amazing. Like, in pretty much every case, except probably when you're trying to build a modern area, but then again, there's plenty of fences for that. So yeah, that rope fence is my newfound best lover, along with that one little flowery bush in gardening one. There's like, definitely there's some custom scenery objects that I absolutely overuse. I'm pretty sure that other people have this as well, but I currently overuse the rope fences. Still, that one flowery bush from gardening one. Pretty much anything from the Main Street sets, though I don't know how much of an overused stuff that is, since, you know, they are really big sets. And the large, the large from gardening is just amazing. I can't not use that. And yeah, there was actually a tiny bit of a debate about bricks and next to the water, where somebody said you can't have bricks because, you know, they're not as strong as a full-on wall is, and that's water right there. So that was actually a really good point, so that's why those bricks were removed. In any case, that's it for this episode. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all next time, in which I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do, since I might redo it. But in any case, I'll see you then.